Hi kids, welcome to Building on the Rock. Today, as you know, the Ark is returned and Israel is safe from the Philistines. But, even though that they're safe from the Philistines, that does not stop their problems. Their biggest problem at the moment is that they want a king. And while there is certainly some issues to that, the biggest issue to the Israelites is finding one. Because God permits them to have a king. So, that task falls to Samuel again. And, well, through some special circumstances, he finds who he's looking for. So, to start, we're going to be looking at 1 Samuel 9, the whole chapter. There was a man named Kish from the tribe of Benjamin. Kish was a very important person. He was the son of Abiel, the son of Zeror. Zeror was the son of Bekorah, the son of Asphaiah, and from the tribe of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul. Saul was a handsome young man. There wasn't anyone like him among the people of Israel. He was a head taller than any of them. The donkeys that belonged to Saul's father Kish were lost. So Kish spoke to his son Saul. He said, "Go and look for the donkeys. Take one of the servants with you." Saul and his servant went through the hill country of Ephraim. They also went through the area around Shalisha, but they didn't find the donkeys. So they went on into the area of Shelah, but the donkeys weren't there either. And Saul went through the territory of Benjamin, but they still didn't find the donkeys. When Saul and the servant who was with him reached the area of Zuph, Saul spoke to him. He said, "Come on, let's go back. If we don't, my father will stop thinking about the donkeys and start worrying about us." But the servant replied, "There is a man of God here in Ramah. People have a lot of respect for him. Everything he says comes true. So let's go and see him now. Perhaps he'll tell us which way to go." Saul said to his servant, "If we go to see the man, what can we give him? There isn't any food in our sacks. We don't have a gift for the man of God. So what can we give him?" The servant answered Saul again. "Look," he said, "I've got 1/10 of an ounce of silver. I'll give it to the man of God. Then maybe he'll tell us which way to go." In Israel, prophets used to be called seers. So if a man wanted to ask God for advice, he would say, "Come on, let's go to the seer." Saul said to his servant, "That's a good idea. Come on, let's go and ask the seer." So they started out for the town where the man of God lived. They were going up the hill towards the town. Along the way they met some young women who were coming out of the water from the well. Saul and his servant asked them, "Is the seer here?" "Yes, he is," they answered. "In fact, he's just up ahead of you, so hurry along. He's just come to our town today. The people are going to offer a sacrifice at the high place where they worship. As soon as you enter the town, you will find him. He'll be there until he goes up to the high place to eat. The people won't start eating until he gets there. He must bless the sacrifice first. After that, those who are invited will eat. So go on up. You should find him there just about now." They went up to the town. As they were entering it, they saw Samuel. He was coming toward them. He was on his way up to the high place. The Lord had spoken to Samuel a day before Saul came. He had said, "About this time tomorrow I will send you a man. He is from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him to be the leader of my people Israel. He will save them from the powerful hand of the Philistines. I have seen how much my people are suffering. Their cry of help has reached me." When Saul saw a man coming toward him, the Lord spoke to Samuel again. He said, He is the man I told you about. His name is Saul. He will govern my people." Saul approached Samuel at the gate of the town. "Yes, Samuel, can you please show me the house where the seer is staying?" "I'm the seer," Samuel replied. "Go on up to the high place ahead of me. I want you and your servant to eat with me today. Tomorrow morning I'll tell you what's on your mind. Then I'll let you go. Don't worry about the donkeys you lost 3 days ago. They've already been found. But who are all of the people of Israel longing for? You and your father's whole family." Saul answered, "But I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. It's the smallest tribe in Israel, and my family group is the least important in the whole tribe of Benjamin. So why are you saying that to me?" Then Samuel brought Saul and his servant into the room where they would be eating. He seated them at the head table. About 30 people had been invited. Samuel said to the cook, "Bring the piece of meat I gave you. It's the one I told you to put to one side." So the cook went and got a choice piece of thigh. He set it in front of Saul. Samuel said, "Here is what has been kept for you. Eat it. It was put to one side for you for this special occasion. We saved it for you ever since I invited the guests." And Saul ate with Samuel that day. They came down from the high place to the town. After that, Samuel talked with Saul on the roof of Samuel's house. The next day they got up at about the time the sun was rising. Samuel called out to Saul on the roof. He said, "Get ready, and then I'll send you on your way." So Saul got ready, and he and Samuel went outside together. As they were on the way down to the edge of town, Samuel spoke to Saul. He said, "Tell the servant to go ahead of us." So the servant went on ahead. Then Samuel continued, "Stay here a while. I'll give you a message from." Now, at first, this seems like a relatively inconsequential story to our current environment. Because, yay, Israel got a king. We don't live in Israel. Well, at least I assume we don't. And even then, a king from this era has no bearing on today's society. Because, he's kind of dead. Very much so, in fact. But, what's important here is how he was chosen to be king. And why was he chosen to be king? There was no bloodline. There was no heritage to choose. Just like, well, he's the son of the last king, so he has to be the new king. It's not that simple. See, this was God choosing the king. Now, while the kingship is in fact a flawed system, according to God and to Samuel, they both appeased Israel's wishes. And as such, we got a king that was the most like God of the era. So, when we see this, at least in the current moment, we should replicate Saul until things change later on. So, when we see Saul at the start of the chapter with the donkeys, he starts realizing that he should go back to his father because he's more worried about his father than he is the donkeys, placing people above animals, which is the same reason we sacrifice animals for their blood, or well, we used to, instead of our own blood. Because God doesn't want our blood, and that's why he accepts substitutes. Then, when he realizes he needs to go speak to a seer, or a prophet of God, he needs to bring a sacrifice, because he's coming closer to God. Now, what he brought was just a few shekels of silver, but that was what he had. It is not the amount that he brought, it was that he brought what he had. So when you see, like, rich people giving, let's say, $10,000, but they have 100 million, they're not giving a lot to God. They're giving a small percentage, and it doesn't mean much because it's not making a dent in their personal finances, because they're only giving out of excess. They're not giving what they have, they're giving what they have extra. Now, when he comes to town, and he gets here, we realize that he is from the tribe of Benjamin, and the lowest of the tribe of Benjamin. The tribe of Benjamin was also considered the least of the tribes, so he is the lowest of the low. Yet, God chose him. Why? Well, God doesn't think the way we do about places and people. He doesn't put someone somewhere because it's the lowest and say, "You'll have no success, I don't love you." No. He wants us to be the lowest. To be able to be the lowest, because God should be above it all. When we put ourselves in positions of power or places of high standing, we're simply undermining the fact that God is the greater. God is good, in the good and the bad. When we look towards God, we realize we don't need to be in high places, that we can be in low places, and that God still loves us regardless. And God wants to use us for his ends. So, we find a man who is treating people in high esteem, gives all he has to God, and is not concerned about his own status. That sounds like a good candidate for a king, if I ever saw one. Not to mention he's tall. And people respect tall people. Well, I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. And I'll catch you in a bit when we get to building. Today, we're also going to need another green base plate. As you know, I love using this piece. It makes it nice and easy to put things together. We are going to place down 2 arch pieces, which are 2 blocks tall and 4 blocks wide, right here on the right side, leaving 1 stud to the side and a bunch of studs to the left. Just focus on the 1 stud because we're going to need to place some pieces there. Like this piece, which is a 1x2 with studs on the side, and a 1x2 on top of it without studs on the side, so that we can then move that piece right there. You're then going to mirror that on the other side with the studs on the side, with the 1x2 on this side, and the studs go inward. This helps lock it in place a little bit so that it won't fall out. And so it looks a lot better. Then you're going to take these 1x2s, 2x2s, forgive me, in the same light gray and place them on top to lock it down. There we go. Now, you're going to make the choice piece of thigh with me. To start, we're going to grab 3 2x2 round brown pieces, stack them up like so. Then you're going to grab a 2x3 sloped upward tan piece and this dark red 1x2 and attach them top of each other. Then you're going to grab another 2x3 sloped upward piece and just a 2x3 with no slope. Attach the 2x3 with no slope on top of the 1x3 and the 1x3 with the slope on top of the dark red piece. Once you have that, you are going to want to lock it down with these 2, 3 nougat colored 2x2s. Just connect them here. Make sure you get a nice firm connection on this one here, as that helps stop these pieces from falling off and separating, which isn't good. And then place that one right there, and we're almost done. Attach these 2x3 pieces in a nice dark brown and right on top, and voila, you got yourself a nice piece of chicken meat, or well, thigh. I don't really know what they served. It's kind of hard to say really. Well, I know it was a pork. Just a little Joshin. I hope you enjoyed this lesson today, and do me a favor and don't try to eat the piece.